President Trump's 20-point plan with Prime Minister Netanyahu being hailed as the boldest step yet towards ending the Gaza war. But big questions remain today about whether Hamas and regional powers will go along with it. For more, let's head to the States. We're joined by Oz Sultan from Sultan Interactive Group. I guess the big question is, what makes this plan different from past peace efforts, and why hasn't it been put forward sooner?
Oh, it should have been put forward a lot sooner, I'll tell you that much. We've got suffering Gazans, we've got suffering Israelis, you've got, the whole world kind of caught in the grip of this one. What I will say is this, I think this really required a series of steps with Israel in order to get him here. Bibi's been a pretty big hardliner in terms of what his efforts are and what his aims are within the Strip. I mean, we've seen a lot of hoi polloi coming from the Likudniks, as well as the defense minister on this, in terms of what their intentions are. But let's talk about where we are today.
Yeah.
You've got the opportunity for peace. You've got the ask for a full stand down of hostilities. There's the request for the return of hostages, alive or dead, from Hamas, which will in turn trigger a very sizable amount of children and women hostages, as well as Palestinian hostages that are being held by the Israelis. And then there's this big rebuilding, which is going to be chaired by Trump, Tony Blair, and a few other folks, as well as peacekeeping that is potentially going to be leveraging this new GCC NATO cooperative that they're talking about.
Yeah, well, let's have a listen first to what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
And that being the key point there that Benjamin Netanyahu finishes with, that it will never again. I mean, this has been going on for a very long time, as we all know. Why do you think Donald Trump has invested so much political capital in all of this?
If you look at what's been going on for the past couple of years, just from a diplomatic perspective, Trump has sort of reset boundaries that no one seems to be generally paying attention to, at least not the Atlantic. We've got new entrenched relationships with Pakistan. We've got defense security pacts with Saudi Arabia. We've got the developing of relationships across the Gulf region. We've got a reduction of dependency on India, and we are looking to build new partnerships, right? I think the future of the Middle East is sort of at stake here, and I think Trump sees this. And if we look back to his presidency, right, to Biden, Intel has come out that basically says that diplomatically it was a nothing burger for 4 years. He said, we're trying really hard, but they didn't do anything. They just let people die. And, that blood is on Biden's hands. But the remainder of this now is an opportunity for reconciliation, maybe, but at least peace in our time. And, that's the best I think we're hoping for right now.
Well, we saw the Vice President Kamala Harris come under a lot of criticism during the election campaign from her own side as well. There were Palestinian protesters turning up to her election events and rallies. But how realistic do you think it is that Hamas will actually give up its weapons? Why would it?
It's tough. In 2008, Israel allowed for an election to be held, and Fatah was pushed out by Hamas, which then was a revolutionary organization and a political party. Right. And about 2 years ago, prior to this conflict, a huge portion of Fatah gave up inside of their version of Congress that they have in Palestine. And during the conflict, post October 7th, the rest of Fatah resigned. So you're in a situation right now where Abbas, a few other folks, are probably going to have to come into the mix. They're going to have to rebuild some sort of a coalition with Fatah. You may have new folks coming in from all corners of Palestine. There needs to be a lot more engagement of your Maronite and Orthodox Christian communities inside of this conversation because they've been left to the side. But the long and the short of this is this is at least a chance to build on that. This technocratic council that's going to run it, at least for the foreseeable future. There's a lot of questions as to who's going to be on that, how that's going to be led, what that means. I do think they've got some of the best ideas coming from folks that have helped build cities like Dubai. But there's a cautious but optimistic approach I think we can take to this one. And the fact that we've got Israel on board means that it's at least more than 50% likely to happen.
All right, well, Donald Trump has stunned Hollywood as well with a shock plan to slap a 100% tariff on all movies made outside of the United States, threatening to upend the global film industry. The media loves talking about the media, so let's do it now. Oz, how would the tariff actually reshape Hollywood's business model? Because the Bob Igers of the world, all of the studios, have essentially been following the great tax cuts. They once referred to Australians as, quote, Mexicans with mobiles, which is why they came and brought the film industry here for quite a while. We've seen Canada and Toronto. We've got London as well. Obviously, it's a big question for Hollywood, but did Hollywood bring this on themselves?
In a way they did. A lot of these new films have exotic locales that are required. You look at The Witcher, Lord of the Rings, even Game of Thrones, right? We don't necessarily have those types of shooting venues here in the United States, at least not castles per se, unless you go to but the remainder of this, I think, kind of comes down to what Trump's whole take has been on offshoring, right? He's going after offshoring with the H-1Bs. He's going after offshoring with India. And now he's going after Hollywood for offshoring huge portions of the film industry inside of an era of artificial intelligence where, the value of the Film Actors Guild job is really on the decline. So one has to kind of ask, sort of twofold, what does Hollywood have in terms of plans of fixing this? And also you have to look at the changes in America, right? Netflix just bought an old military base in Monmouth County, New Jersey, and is planning on standing up all of their operations there. So you could start seeing like Hollywood itself coming apart.
And listening to the CEOs of AMC and the cinema chain saying, look, we had a great business before COVID. We don't have a great business now. And that's when they're trying to cut the cost of films. I mean, Disney's complaining it's $250 million USD to make an animated film these days in the States. At what stage do we realize that the direction of the film industry and the direction of the movie industry and costs are a real threat here?
Well, I think it's part and parcel of the cost of building here, but it's also at the same time, if you're going to ship all those jobs overseas, all that animation is going to be done overseas. What's the benefit to the American consumer? What's the benefit to American workers, right?
Well, what's the benefit to I guess my question to that, though, is what's the benefit to the Australian film industry to have American films shown in Australia? What's the benefit around the world of American products being sent abroad, Apple devices, etc., if the United States is playing hardball on its side, yet it's a massive exporter? Does Trump need to be careful here that he doesn't actually end up with American films being banned?
To a degree, but I don't think you're going to end up with outright bans. I think what you could end up with is tariffs, and you could end up with, some sort of regulations akin to what Trump is doing. But no one's going to do 100% tariff the way that we can, because we're the biggest film industry out there.
Is it a threat? Is this just another Trump threat that he'll walk back, do you think?
I think this is part of Trump's long-term negotiation strategy, both with the film industry and also international film companies. We are always interested in more film in America, but it is one of these things where, I think we've seen more of this really coming out of Hollywood for a long period of time, and that more of the same isn't necessarily using American actors. The Actors Guilds aren't really doing a great job of protecting actors. So this is, in a way, kind of a pushback on that. Now, what the long-term ramifications and final, judgment of this is, that's probably going to take months.
All right, we'll leave it there for now.
I think it's a good start.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.